Welcome back to episode 57 of the Disorganized Wizard Club podcast. My name is Alex, and here as always is Adam.
Hello.
And Cam.
Hey.
And we're a group of Ottawa-based players that play just about anything and everything we can qualify for. We talk about tournaments, decks, stories, just about anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
Definitely. I'm only saying that because we're coming off an all DWC stomping.
Hot off the press like half an hour ago.
Yeah, just finished wrecking everyone in draft.
Yeah.
Me and Stelly crumpling at everyone.
Not because I drafted well.
I mean, you drafted fine, but I mean, you drafted A1 with the wind, and therefore you drafted well.
No, my deck wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Mine was insane. You were right.
Yeah.
I was the only white
you.
drafter at the table, so that is a bit of a help when you get a fourth last pick at Donto's Vanguard. And then every time you cast it on turn 2, you can just like watch your opponent's heart sink.
That card is impressive.
It was wild. Every time I cast on 2, it's like, this game's over.
I played a game where my only out was to block it, hope they paid 4, try and cast a removal spell in response, and hope they paid 4 because they were at 8. They just took the trade.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm actually like not like you. I'm actually enjoying this format so far. I think the games are interesting. Drafting can be a bit of a train wreck, but I think it rewards you for choosing what, like, in a lot of formats, you get rewarded more when you stay one color for as long as you possibly can.
Yes.
And I think in this format, you're rewarded way more by choosing a pairing very early.
Yes, I think you are rewarded for fighting for things, right?
Yeah.
And trying to bully your way into something.
Exactly.
And I talked to a listener, actually, was at the Tower tonight. We were at the Tower was packed tonight. We were at we were at Player of the Month or whatever. But he had drafted and he said, I passed the 3/3 Merfolk that puts counter on stuff as a pack one, pick one. And I took, a blue uncommon or something instead. Because he said, like most things I read, and like you watch pros and like all these people say, like try and stay in one color, right? Try and kind of see what's open. And he didn't do very. And he was like, I think I should have taken it. And I said, oh, definitely, because you can always abandon your first pick. But if you fight for that card and you get into blue green Merfolk, that card's insane.
Yeah,
that card's like completely busted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I think you do, and I think that kind of rings true to what you're saying, right? That you want to fight for like a pairing, and that's what I did. Remember tonight, even I pack one, pick one, the 5-mana 3/3 vampire that when it comes into play, they lose life for each vampire you control. So I immediately was like, all right, I'm taking this fight. Like
Well, and like just because this set is very heavy in like tribal synergies, like if I'm choosing blue red as my color pairing off, like right off the bat, I have a much larger card pool of picking from blue red pirates, just like pirates in general, or if I'm just drafting blue and have to pick from blue cards, right?
Right, you have less options.
Yeah. So I don't know. From what I've learned so far, I think you want to be choosing something powerful early. If you open one of the multicolor uncommons, it might be worth just going all in on it.
Yeah, because all the multicolor uncommons have seemed like just
very good,
absolutely bonkers, which is what we said.
Yeah.
We said that's how Wizards has sort of defined limited formats recently, is that the uncommon multicolor cards, right? You think of something like Maverick Thopterist. And these cards have been format defining and limited, and it feels like that is even more so the case in this set. Yeah.
The like just off the top of my head, all 3 of the pirates are absolutely insane. Like blue black, blue red, and black red.
They're all crazy.
Yeah. And I mean the Merfolk multicolor uncommon is just like a planeswalker. It's unbeatable.
Yeah, I got crumpled by it. Like absolutely, it just dumpstered by someone playing it the other day, like a couple days ago when I drafted. It was just I had to dump so many resources into trying to deal with it.
Yeah,
that I lost to everything else they had.
Yeah, like I don't think this format is as good as the ones we've seen in the past year. But it is very interesting, and it's a lot more complicated than I originally thought it was going to be.
So I agree, and I was really negative about the format at first, but I think that probably is a condition of playing mostly sealed at the beginning, and the sealed format does seem awful, just because the power level's so low, and I think that the drafting similarly can have problematic packs for you, where like just nothing you can take that's real, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that actually that's like a really good point you make again, and this is another reason to go all in and fight for a synergy then, because you need, like, if there's only like 1 or 2 cards you can take in the pack, you got to pick something that like isn't a rare. Like that's not what you can take, right? Because the rares are like, primal amulets and stuff, right? So instead you take a card knowing it's going to go well with other mediocre cards, which there are a lot of. So you take a tribal card because there's tons of tribal in the set.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I am having fun playing it. I've been playing mostly draft. I haven't touched standard yet because I don't know.
I've just having a chance. There's a pretty big standard event this Saturday that I'm going to play in.
Yeah, I'm going back home for Thanksgiving so I won't be playing. But yeah, I am enjoying limited. It's interesting. I want to get as much reps in as I can before we go to Toronto
for nationals.
For nationals, yeah.
Yeah, I'm mostly just drafting to help out deck, right? Our friends, right? Because I'm not going to nationals, but I'm mostly drafting to give advice and
kind of
get the format down.
Yeah, I figured I wouldn't think about standard until after Worlds happens this weekend.
Yeah,
but
there's going to be glued to the coverage for that.
Yeah,
Worlds is going to be sweet.
Yeah,
I'm really excited.
Yeah, it will be good.
So. Yeah, I've you guys have just been going on about the draft format, and I've drafted it a couple times, and so I guess maybe to summarize, I want to ask if you agree with my impression. So, you're advocating trying to force your way into an archetype early, which is kind of the opposite of staying open, which I've found you almost can't stay open because so many of the cards in a pack are unplayable that signals after the first 4 to 5 picks just actually aren't there. They don't mean anything.
Yo, yeah, definitely, yeah.
If you the last half of the picks you get in a pack, they could be all red and all green, and none of them good enough for a red-green deck. So it doesn't mean that those colors are open.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. I said that to the list, who asked me about, I didn't take this blue-green Merfolk. Should I? And I said, well, yeah, a lot of it is because is exactly what you're saying. The signal thing is too hard to read because so many cards are unplayable except in their archetype.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the vampires, let's say, aren't that great, but when you have a bunch of vampires, they become crazy good, but no one else can take them. So that's the only signal you'll get, I think, right? If you want to look for signals, I think it comes down to that. Someone ships you some uncommon vampire late, right? And you're okay, I guess this is open. It has to be. Because this card's so good in that archetype, and then I'll scoop up all the bad ones later that are very good in my deck, right? So I think that's the only way, but people should be fighting, I think, for those kind of uncommon, synergy picks early.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, the actual drafting itself seems very pivotal on your first few picks. Your early decisions in a draft seem to matter a lot. And I also think that the actual games mirror this, and that your early decisions and your early turns in a game matter a lot. You can't play decks that go late like you could an Hour of Devastation. There isn't the removal, there isn't the sweepers, there isn't the card draw or the catch up cards. This just isn't there. You have to play a tempo-y racy game. And so the format feels very centered around making your early decisions correctly, which is kind of refreshing because we haven't had a format.
No, I actually had fun tonight playing my deck. But you were right, and you said this a week ago, and you were dead on, which is this is a racing format. And I don't think it's a symptom either of just being early in the format. I think that it's just how the cards are built in this format that it comes down to tempo advantage. And it's not even that this format's hyper aggro. It's just about leveraging your early tempo and sequencing things right to get the advantage and get ship shots in, right? That's what it feels like. Mm-hmm. Which is why led me to say tonight that I think that the 4-mana 3/3 flying dinosaur Imperial Aerosaur, when it comes into play, it gives a creature +1/+1 and flying until end of turn. That's why I think that card's first pickable.
Oh, I agree. That card is bananas.
Yeah, because it lets you kind of get in a hit and a head on a tempo, a chip shot in that you normally wouldn't get, right? It pushes your kind of damage tempo.
And it does it the turn it comes in, but then it also just is a 3/3 flyer and,
for 4
and threatens to continue doing so.
That card's it was I played 3 non-vampire creatures in my deck today, and that was one of them, and it was bananas every time I played it.
Justified. Yep.
Yeah. The other was the 4-mana 2/3 vigilance that you can pay 2 to deal 3 to something that blocked or is blocked by it. Which is also very, very good. So my non-vampire creatures were just nuts cards. I was hey, oh,
two white dinos, some mighty steeds for the vampires.
Yeah. But and it kind of actually you were saying you had a draft the other day too, where you said you went into red-white dinosaurs, which we kind of said, right? We said a couple weeks ago or something that you don't necessarily need to have green to have this stompy dino deck, right? Because a lot of the white dinosaurs.
I think the green dino decks are worse because they're
I
just
agree.
a bunch of big dumb idiots. Whereas like the white dinosaurs have evasion.
And if we're talking, see, this is the thing. I think a lot of people get trapped, right? Where they're
Yeah.
thinking like older formats where like, man, like this 5-mana 5/5 is going to stomp, right? Like,
It's
Well,
too
like,
slow.
You think about
Yeah.
the white dinosaur cards. You have the 2/3 territorial hammer skull, the
is
one
that
that taps. a
That
creature
card's
when it attacks.
crazy.
You have the one you were talking about, that one that can like tail whip something
Yeah.
and has vigilance. And
Yeah.
then you have like the 4-mana 3/3 human that gets a fly that flies if you have a dinosaur.
Oh, that
Oh
card's
yeah, that card's
really
also
good.
very good.
Like
White dinos.
that
is-
card has crumpled me multiple times.
Yeah.
Just being a 3/3 flyer for 4.
I think
See,
white
this
red
was
is
yeah,
probably
this is
the
what I was
best
kind of
dino deck.
getting at, right? And this was I said one of my fears that I think the green is going to get overshadowed on its power of its identity. You know what I mean? Like, and I
Yeah,
think I was
no.
kind of right about that.
I'm not actually a fan of green for playing a
Oh yeah,
dinosaur
like
deck at
all there were like 4 or 5 green drafters at our table tonight, and it was like a real draft because it was like the player of the month. Like Stelly and I won like 175 credit between the two of us, like
Yeah.
for this tournament tonight. Like, and like 4 people were in green, and they all just got like green red or like Naya dinos. Like 4 people like just overvalued these like dinos, and they all lost round 1.
I don't think you can play 3-color because your early turns are so important that
Exact.
like if your 3-color mana, like unless you are the luckiest person alive and you always draw perfect mana, but like if your mana ever causes you to stumble on turns 1, 2, or 3, like you're probably gonna that's going to snowball and you're gonna lose this game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it snowballs too quick, and that's what happened. Like round 1, I played against like a slow, dirtily dinos deck, and they just got literally killed by grizzly bears.
Like it's not a fast aggressive format. It's just I'm always a step ahead of you format.
Yeah, flyers are very good, right? Like in this format because of that too. Like, I had 3 copies of the common 3-mana 2/2 flyer. Like it's just a Windrake, but it drains for 1 when it comes into play, and like the vampire. That card was like just so good tonight. Like,
Yeah, before you started playing, you said, "Oh, I got like a bunch of copies of this bad 3 drop," and then I was like, and then you played with it.
yeah, and I was like, well, I also had
actually
double
not-
anointed deacon, so I just kept attacking for 4.
but even without that, like
No, it's just it was just free chip damage every turn, right? Like, and because I was in vampires, like if I had a chump block, like I wasn't losing races because I had lifelink. Like it was a huge deal. But people had a hard time dealing with stuff in the air. Like you mainboarded a
Yeah.
copy of crushing something. I can't remember what
It's
it's called.
3-mana green instant.
Yeah, Crushing
destroy
Canopy.
destroy an artifact or destroy destroy an enchantment or destroy a creature with flying.
And you said it
Yeah,
was
it's
like
fine.
it was good.
Like I main decked it because my draft was a train wreck and I didn't have that many playables, and
Yeah.
it just turned out. Being
and then we
good.
played in the finals.
Yeah.
as a side note, before we go any further, we got to stop calling decks train wrecks in this format because they're all shipwrecks.
yeah. You already gave me try.
Yeah, I got mad at you for this earlier. And
Yeah.
now Stelly's getting it.
Sorry, man.
Bad decks in this format are shipwrecks.
Shipwrecked pretty hard.
Right, yeah,
There you
because
go.
we don't have any renegade freighters and stuff anymore.
Right? There's no trains.
all the
I
vehicles
did.
are ships.
There's no
I did
tracks.
have a ship.
It's untamed
The
forest.
5-mana
with boats.
yeah,
Dusk
you did
Legion,
have a ship. That
Dreadnought.
card was actually good.
That card's been good for me.
The 5-mana 4/6.
I've drafted it a
with
couple.
that card's
crew
been
2.
good.
It's
That
been
card's
decent.
all right.
The
The
three-
4/3 isn't great.
I found that
Oh
card to
no,
be good.
the 4/3, the schooner is really good.
It wasn't good for me.
No, it was always good.
But
for
I
me.
think it would be good in vampires where you have a bunch of 1 token guys left
Yeah.
around afterwards, so you can upgrade your 1/1s, right? So yeah, I played it in the wrong deck on Tuesday, is what I was saying. I played it in like blue black, and it wasn't great.
Yeah, if you're putting like more than 2 power into it, it's not
I mean, you only want to put 1 in, right?
right. But like, putting 2 is in fine. But I don't know. Like it.
But then there's just a passenger who's just not doing
There's a lot of
anything.
X2s in the format too, or a lot of creatures that are only bigger when they attack, and it attacks well back into them.
This boat doesn't need a first mate, just 1 captain. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Like the other thing though is like vehicles are kind of interesting in this format because I don't know if you want the tempo loss in sometimes, like, but the 4/6 is very good just because it's vigilance and like
Yeah.
it's big, it's a big body.
I liked it.
And it's only crew 2. A lot of
Yeah,
times your
it's-
2 drops will stop being relevant, and this makes them relevant again.
Yeah, exactly. So like that kind of vehicle is still very powerful. But I was glad to see that they fixed the vehicles at least, right? Like there's no Renegade Freighter or what's the one I said I'd never beaten.
Untethered, Untethered Express.
Literally still
yeah.
never beaten that card. Been like comically ahead and just lose every time someone plays it. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, none of the vehicles in this set are unbeatable.
Which is the opposite of Kaladesh and Aether
Yeah.
Revolt, where every single vehicle was like completely unbeatable.
Yeah, they kind of figured it out
Yeah.
second time around.
Yeah, it took a while. No bannings this time, thankfully. I think we're in the clear as far as bannings go for the next while.
Yeah, probably.
Which is good.
Yeah, I think
But
so.
So I guess to kind of summarize our recent drafting, like, yeah, I was very negative at first. I still think sealed's just like there's There's too much garbage you can get. Like and draft it's also you can get a lot of garbage. But I think this rewards the drafting we were talking about at the same time. So there is a ways to make it rewarding. Like you said, like you really focus on those first few like integral picks, right? That define your deck.
It was kind of funny. Pack 1, pick 1. I opened Ripjaw Raptor, which I ended up taking, but I like was tempted to take a Lightning Rig Crew, the pinging pirate in
The
red.
05 for 3.
Yeah,
That card's very good.
Just because I don't like green dinos in this format.
I mean, one of those cards is clearly better than the other.
Yeah.
Lightning Rig Crew blocks Ripjaw Raptor, and they don't even get to draw a card.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah. Well, I took the Ripjaw Raptor, but
I did something.
I just thought it was funny that I actually thought about it for 30 seconds about what card I should take.
So you ended up passing a couple dinos, like after green-red dinos after that as well, because I know you didn't want to be in green-red dinos, and neither did I. So we were both passing. And I did something I'm kind of ashamed of in this draft where after I saw the pack 2 that you passed in pack 1, pack 1, pick 2, there was a sailback, the flash guy, the 4/4 that gets counters.
Yeah.
And the 5 mana 5/5 dagger mouth.
Yeah,
one.
I took Ripjaw Raptor over both those.
That pack had a lot of good dinos in it.
Yeah.
Just the 2 uncommons. And I thought, well, I don't like green red dinos. I'm not. The 4/4 is very good, the flash, but I first picked this vampire. I don't want to go into green. I don't want to be green black. Like God no, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be green black good stuff.
No.
Like I didn't open Nebraska, so I'm good. You know?
Is there even a green black archetype in this format?
You can play green black good stuff. Like
Yeah, but it's
You
not
could
an
play,
archetype,
like-
it's not tribal.
it's
play-
probably explore.
Yeah,
it's green black
okay,
explore.
You can play
right.
Green Black
With
Explore.
with the Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Chupacabra is how you do it. The Chupacabra and the 1/3 that gets counters.
Wild Growth Wanderer, is that his
Yeah,
name?
yeah. So like that is actually an archetype, and you can pull it off. The problem is that you need to get shipped a lot of uncommons that other people will probably take, right? Like it's hard to pull off. But I bet if you do get a good Chupacabra deck, it's probably nuts. Like the problem though again is the Explore cards are good in every deck that they share color with.
Yeah.
Like every deck will just take an Explore card. That's the problem.
Mhm.
So like green black does have an archetype, and you can pull it off, but it's tough. Because you kind of need to prioritize Explore guys like so highly that you might have to ship other stuff.
This makes sense.
But I don't know, in an Explore deck, though, I think you could very easily play a third color.
I agree.
Like playing something like Sultai Explorer is probably really good.
Yeah, especially because the blue gives you treasures and lets
well,
you
it
kind of
gives
get
you
away with
treasures,
splashing.
and you still get decent Explore guys. as
Oh yeah,
well.
definitely.
Like the pirate on 3 is really good.
Yeah.
It's a flyer.
And
as
black
well.
has like the 2 mana Squire that explores. That card's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could definitely pull it off. I think you're right. But anyway, so I'd pack through. I'd passed all these, and I knew the 2 people to my right, my left because of it were gonna go into green because I passed like multiple. Like we both were just passing like dumb big red and green dinos, right?
Yeah.
And so I went into black white vampires, and in pack 3, I never do this, but I opened Regisaur Alpha and a Savage Stomp in the same pack, and I was like, how much is Regisaur Alpha worth? Like in my head, I was like, probably a couple bucks, but also I am not passing this and a Savage Stomp in the same pack. And my deck was like already like 20 playables. So I'm like, but I was like actually ashamed of it. So I'm just confessing on air because you should never hate pick a pack 1. That's so stupid because your deck has an upgrade in that pack, right? But
Yeah.
maybe this is the one format because cards are so bad that like there actually isn't an upgrade in all 14 cards in your opening
Yeah.
pack. But I hate drafting, but I did it and I'm ashamed of myself. But I won the draft, so it was like first picking the foil Tarmogoyf and then winning anyway. But no, the format's cool. I think that like you do get a lot of early interesting turns. The problem is like late game when you flood and do nothing, it's like gonna be pretty miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna suck. But that sucks regardless.
Yeah, I do think you're right. Or I don't know if we were both agreed or like how this came up, but we were talking like you almost, unless you have a bunch of Explorer like you did, you almost kind of want to have to like play 17 lands in this format because like you
Yes.
can't miss.
You can't miss on your early turns, and then you'll probably find like a loot effect, or you'll have one of the playable 1-drops to dump 8 mana into later.
Yeah, those are like, so, like we thought.
Yeah, I was wild.
You were like,
I was
just like hating on them. You were like,
Yeah,
these
yeah,
are
yeah.
trap cards. They're garbage. And
No.
I agreed. I was like, yeah, probably. Like,
I'll play every 1-drop ever printed in the future from now on.
I don't know. I think the white one is still bad.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
red one is very
Won't play
good.
that
The
one
black
printed in the
one's been
future.
very good. The blue one's
the black one's been crazy.
The blue one's just mediocre. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
totally
medium.
just
enabling
fine.
raid in those colors though is very
Yeah.
good, which is also why the red
and
one's
like the green one's playable because it costs 2.
good. Yeah, it's a 2/2 for 2. It's
yeah.
fine.
But yeah, the red and the black one were surprises for me. They've both been very good.
Yeah, I'm impressed with them. So, but again, this is a format where you kind of just low to the ground tempo. Like it feels like there's no real way to punish people who play a bunch of 1/2s early, right? So,
Yeah.
Can we take a second to discuss a card that a bunch of people seem to be valuing highly, and none of us understand? But like, so PSA, Wily Goblin is not at all playable in any sense, is it?
it's red 1/1 when it comes into play. Make a treasure. That one.
Yeah. So this is a 2-mana 1/1 with no text that costs double color.
You get a Lotus Petal.
I mean, it ramps.
So here's my problem though. In limited, that means like it has to be in your opening hand for it to ramp, but you also need to go red.
Yeah.
So like, your hand has to have double mountain in it. And
ramps,
that scares me.
It ramps by giving you a Lotus Petal, so it's good for splashing in your deck that can cast a double red spell on turn 2.
Well, not like you don't even have to be splashing. Just playing a 4-drop on turn 3 is good.
Yeah, that's
not if you had to like have a 1/1 in your hand.
I don't know.
I think it's
fine.
I think it's very bad.
I don't know. There's no. It's
like
not
I don't think it's as good as a lot of people think.
Yeah, I see people like highly like drafting it. Right, like we took it early. Like it was quite early over like a better card in my opinion. I think people take it like if it was one red colorless, then I'd be like, yeah, draft that card like every time.
Yeah,
like you just take
for
the card.
sure.
Like you just take every copy you see, and then you just play 4 colors. Like
yeah.
But being red is a huge downside. I feel like. I don't know.
It's like
it's risk and like it's just so bad. Like its fail state is through the roof.
I think it's justifiable if you're playing mono red with no 3 and 4 drops and like 5 charging monster sore. Then it's acceptable.
Yeah, I
if it's not in that deck, it shouldn't be in the deck.
I think the card's very bad. I agree. But I think that's the case for a lot of cards in the set. They're very bad. Like the power level's very low.
Yeah, but they're castable.
No, I agree that double red is a problem. Like what about the hands where you're like red-white and you have like 2 plains and mountain and then that's in your hand? You're like, crap. Can I even keep this hand now? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's scary.
I wouldn't pick it highly.
I just wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cards like that in this format where I'm like, I ain't playing
There
it. The other thing is that card doesn't have like tribal synergy either, right? There's no.
It's a pirate.
It is a pirate?
It's a
I thought
pirate.
it was a goblin.
No, it's a pirate.
It's a goblin pirate.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the real shame of this
Rashad
set.
and Port, am I right?
That's the real shame of this set is that Wily Goblin is a goblin pirate, but Rummaging Goblin is not.
Yeah, I don't understand
because it's a reprint. They're not going to errata the text, right? To like.
Well, why couldn't you have just called it something else and made it like a 1/2?
Just call it Rummaging Goblins. That's a goblin pirate.
Rummaging Pirate. Just call it Rummaging Pirates.
Rummaging Gobbo.
You literally just call it Rummaging Pirates. Make it a 1/2 that does the same thing.
Rummaging
Power
Guffer.
creep.
Power creep, right? Just pirate Gobbo. I know that's Grick Dubin.
Yeah, they could have just printed Grick.
Grick Dubin.
That card would actually be
They
insane.
better
if it
print
was a
Grick
pirate.
Dubin on the next set.
No, he's dead. He got hit by the lightning from the lightning strike.
Oh yeah, Storm's coming in. Cap.
He's the guy on the art
for lightning strike. Yeah,
that was up on the
mast.
Is that what that's called? The like circular thing you can stand on up on the mast.
I believe so. I'm from the prairies. So are you. We don't know anything about ships. We're like a couple of landlockers over here. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm scared of the ocean.
It's so vast.
I hate this set. I'm just it's too scary. Jurassic Park and oceans.
How am I supposed to park my boat in 2 parking stalls?
What?
Like in the prairies, people with big trucks always park over.
Yeah, I was doing that's generous. They do the like angled
across like 3 of them
at the back of the line, sometimes at the front. Gotta get that oil rig money.
All right, we've derailed. Let's talk about standard.
No.
Let's talk about standard.
No, because like if you need to buy any of these new boats or any vehicles such as trucks from the old set, you can visit wizardstower.com for all your single needs.
That's a good one.
That was a 24 minutes before we got to the
ad spot. It's supposed to be like either at the end or at the beginning, but what are you gonna do?
It's pretty much the beginning. We had a lot to say.
Time is a flat circle. It's fine.
Yeah.
That was a good segue.
Thank you.
But let's talk about standard a bit. SCG Dallas was this past weekend.
This format is awesome. This standard format looks rad.
I mean,
there's aggro, mid-range, and control.
It's just the same as the last format.
I know, but it's more defined. It's more clear.
So the reason like that it's so similar to the last format and it just seems to be updated versions of all the current decks, of all the old decks, is why I think it's a very unstable equilibrium at the moment.
Oh, yeah. I could see something coming along and just...
Any little thing is going to throw all of these decks into completely different builds, like to have to fight. Like, I don't think this format will end at all similar to how it is now.
I agree. I don't think I think people are just scraping the surface too of what can be done by like changing a few things, like experimenting with cards and like what older cards can do, like because you see both old and new cards coming back to into play. Like the list that won was like really interesting and really well done, I thought.
Yeah, it was just green black energy playing Hostage Taker, Rogue Refiner, and Scarab God.
So I really like them being able to play Rogue Refiner, but obviously Hostage Taker is like the defining card here for this deck, right?
Yeah, it's sort of the breakout card of this weekend.
That and Scarab God being the format. Man,
well, Scarab God was already kind of showing up everywhere.
I just want to point out that are we ever wrong? Sans getting pied because of me. I mean,
no,
I could be wrong once in my lifetime, I suppose. But if you are a longtime listener, for 2 months ago, we were like, buy Scarab Gods. Go to wizardtower.com and order your Scarab Gods when they were $15 Canadian?
Not 40 American.
40 American, sold out everywhere. Like the invocation's like $100.
Yep.
Yeah, we were saying like, and there were some people actually who messaged me like early this week after the SCG were like, thanks, by the way. Like LB was like, yeah, me and Scott have like 4 each. Like, they were like, yeah. Other people messaged me like, yeah, I tried to buy them, but they were all sold out. And even though I thought it put +1/+1 counters and it doesn't, it's just +1, but it's still very good.
Which
Death Gorge Scavenger.
No, about that card.
Like also, like that card turned out to be quite good. Like it was very good out of the sideboards this weekend. When Scarab God is one of the best decks. Esper Gifts top 8'd, so you just have a hate card for it. It's good against mono red. It's good against control. Someone else. The reason I bring this up, someone else also messaged me saying that after our episode they were all sold out like all over the tower, like because they were like $1.50 or $2 or something.
We talked about them on the podcast, and then you and Phil and some other guys like bought them all out of the tower, and then people noticed that the tower was sold out and went to every other store in Ottawa and bought them all.
Yeah, so you can't find them, and also even on face to face in Montreal, they're like $6 now or something.
Are they?
Yeah, oh yeah,
wow.
They like tripled in price since we like last
That's insane
week.
Profit.
Yeah,
so glad I bought
come
more.
here for your specs. MTG Finance.
No, so I mean, being the smart guys that we are that are never wrong, we did say play green black energy, mono red, blue white approach, or
Teamer midrange.
Teamer midrange.
What is in the top 8?
I mean, those are the only decks that finished in like the top 32. I think.
Yeah, like we smashed this like this.
We missed the like one
we
Godfarrow's
missed-
gift deck.
Yeah, we missed the
we
Godfarrow's.
didn't say Godfarrow's.
But
gift,
you did say that a blue. I think you said a blue white Godfarrow's deck would be well positioned, and he was playing Esper, but close.
Yeah, I mean, the black cards he's playing is Hostage Taker, and then the Squire,
the Thraben Inspector Squire, the
Secret
replacement.
Squire. and I guess this mythic vampire.
Oh,
Vona.
I didn't even. Yeah, I forgot he was playing that.
Vona, is it called?
Yeah. I mean, it seems fine to return with a Godfarrow's gift.
Yeah,
Like every card in this deck. I don't know.
Seems fine.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems sweet.
I was happy to see this deck.
Did you watch the top 8?
Yes, I watched. Like
You saw his game 3.
Yes.
He could have very easily won that game. He just kept a land in his hand.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he could have been in the semi. He could have won. Like you see this deck popping up online now too. But to go back to the Sultai energy list, like the reason I think I said they nailed it was like they came prepared for the Hostage Taker mirror for Blossoming Defense.
Oh yeah.
Like they knew what was up.
That card was so good every time I saw it on camera.
Blossoming Defense was incredible all weekend because people were trying to Hostage Taker and like other pings. Like it just did so much. Like it looked so good. And it was like they knew that mono red was going to be one of the best decks, right? And all the falter effects like Earthshaker Kenra, like Aluncrod Crasher, like even a Glorybringer, you can save your guys, right? From the Blossoming Defense. And that came up probably every round that they were on coverage, like the Jessup brothers when they were playing this deck, because they were playing the exact 75. They played each other on coverage at one point.
They played each other twice.
Yeah. And
I really like this Sultai energy deck. I think it's sweet.
I think it's very well built. Like
Yeah.
it's very. It's a really nice mid range deck in that it can take the aggressive role early if it has the Winding Constrictor draws, but it also can play just like the longer mid range game, right? Because of Hostage Taker, Scarab God, right?
Yeah,
That kind of format
it's just
defining card.
it's so well like even the sideboard seems really good to me.
4 Death Scourge Scavengers.
Yeah,
Is that
it's
why?
just- I mean, I don't know. It just seems like good. 4 Duress, love it.
Oh, Duress is like having that back is great. Like all the 1 mana ones, right? Like Spell Pierce.
Yeah.
You know, like duress.
I was obviously very well positioned for week 1.
It also like has a late game plan that its early game supports well, in the sense that like if you're going to cast a hostage taker, generally if you're taking something big, you need to untap with it to then cast whatever you took. But all of your 2-drops are so threatening that they also had to be killed. So either your hostage taker died, but a 2-drop stuck and you win, or your 2-drops all got killed, but then they can't kill the hostage taker.
Right, and you can also just wait till turn 5, and protect the hostage taker with a
With
blossoming
that too.
defense, and then you're getting their guy and the removal spell,
Yeah,
right, for the cost of a blossoming defense. Like,
it's pretty good.
yeah.
Seeing this, Cam?
Marty
Someone,
Vehicles.
someone on Moto broke our deck we were trying to build.
No, I've moved on. It's gonna be John now.
We kind of talked about like a unlicensed disintegration, like red black Heart of Kieran deck, and like some people I've seen Mardu,
Yeah,
kind of like a Mardu deck with Hazards like pop up online.
Yeah, we were talking
that's
about
this
it,
one.
and then Stelly and I like were thinking about, do we want white? What white cards do we want? Because like the only good white card in
Toolcraft.
Standard anymore is Toolcraft.
Exemplar. That
Like,
card's
that's it. That's the only playable white card.
I mean,
Maybe
Glory Bound
approach.
Initiates seems okay.
Yeah,
it's medium.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't like.
It gains life.
Yeah, but
So much mono red. It dies to shock though. Yeah, I don't know. Moto's kind of all over the place. There's like a bunch of token stacks. Have you seen these token stacks?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got all my anointed processions.
Grixis
Like,
Improvise seems popular.
I don't get it.
It's very good.
How?
It's just like its late game's very good.
Think of a really big number. There's more tokens than that.
Yeah, its late game is just so strong. That's why.
I don't know. It just seems so bad.
Yeah, I get it.
Have you like watched people play the Anointed Procession decks before? It looks
It looks
miserable
Yeah.
for the first 6 turns, and then it looks unstoppable.
Although that list I don't like as much as I've seen ones playing Champion of Wits, and let me tell you, if you eternalize a Champion of Wits when you have an Anointed Procession, that's got to be a good time.
It's a good thing it's a May trigger. You might mill yourself.
Yeah, like have 2 Anointed Processions, make 4 Champion of Wits, draw 16.
Discard 8.
Yeah, so I can't do the math on that. That's your job.
Yeah, draw 16, discard 8.
That's a good rate.
Like at that point, you might as well just discard at random to save time. Like your hand's gonna be good. You've drawn so many cards.
It's probably not going to be good. Your deck's filled with Anointed Priests and Sacred Cats.
Yeah, but you need a critical mass of them.
Although you're not discarding any because you just put the Embalm guys in the graveyard.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
right on.
So but Standard seems like in a really cool place. Like I'm excited to play Standard. Like I'm playing this weekend.
I'm excited to
like
play it. I'm excited
Mono
to
Red
ruin
and
it.
Teamer Energy are still like massive parts of the. They're over half the metagame. I
Yeah,
think,
of
but,
course.
like,
yeah. But I
both
think
those
those are
decks
good decks to be at the top, right? That's the
Yeah.
other thing. We've said this for a long time. Like when Mono Red is good, formats are usually healthy. And like Teamer Energy being like the mid-range kind of bully like of the format is good. Like that deck's beatable. That's why Approach did well, right? Which we said last week too. Like that's going to be the 4th deck.
Yeah, Approach is a very good game 1 against Teamer.
It even cracks me up because I remember the exact conversation on air last week where like Stelly's like, all right, you play a black-green energy variant or a Teamer Energy or Mono Red. Those are the decks. And I'm like, well, or Approach because it beats like 2 of the 3 of those.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, I guess that's the metagame. Like, what was the top 8? Like, oh, look, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a shame we like can't travel these SCGs and just like kick people's teeth in, man. Being Canadian sucks. Gotta move to America.
Nah, I think I'm fine. I'm good.
Cards would be so much cheaper there, though.
Yeah, that's how it works.
So I don't know how much Worlds is going to shake up Standard this weekend.
You best believe that like Brad Nelson and those people are going to come with some weird, you know what I mean? Like they're going to help like define things.
Are they though? Or are they just going to bring Teamer?
Yeah, you're right. My bad.
Like,
They
I
might.
feel like they're
It's
just
funny
gonna
because
bring
Brad always
Teamer and
acts like
Mono
he's
Red.
like, I'm gonna brew. Like actually, never
No,
mind.
like-
He always acts like he's this mastermind brewer, but he'll like take a stock list and change 2 cards and be like, you see, the genius of what I did was. And you're just like, yeah, okay, bud.
It's in the little things.
Yeah,
I played
don't
a
know.
second Blessed Alliance in the board. You know? People are like, man, he's a Standard master.
Like Worlds. How many people qualify for Worlds? 25.
Something like that. 24 or 25.
Like, do you think it's better to bring something kind of off the wall that no one's really expecting for a small tournament like that, or is it better to just play one of the obvious best decks?
I would just play one of the obvious best decks.
Yeah. So, like, do we
'Cause
really
you're also,
expect
like-
to see much innovation this weekend?
No, I think you're going to see Scarab God kicking people's teeth in. That's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely to see Hazaret, but
I agree. I think you see some blue-black control, though. And I was going to talk about this at one point, which is blue-black control. Like, if I was going to Nationals, I would probably try and test and tune a blue-black control list, and that is what I would take to Nationals.
Why?
I don't think people in the Eastern Canada and Central Canada where we live play much mono-red anymore, from what I've seen. And blue-black has a good mid-range matchup and essentially 100% win rate versus approach. Like, actually.
Really?
Oh, dude, it's like comical. I was watching like this guy stream and he like plays like goofy music and I don't really, so I just mute it, but he keeps like a spreadsheet of all his games. And like he's played like approach like 30 times and 100% win rate with like and he has like he was showing his match win percentages, you know, and like he's played like 105 matches in competitive leagues with blue-black control. And I don't like his build exactly, but the approach matchup's a buy. They can't win.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a way to win because they don't have more counters than you. They can't resolve they actually can't resolve the approaches. And post-board, you just arrest them back to the Stone Age. So
Seems good.
Yeah, like this deck just has actually like 100. It's a buy. Like you have 100% win rate. And did you see how much approach there was tonight?
It was a decent amount.
There was a lot of people playing control, and I think that people like when they can play control because it's been a while, so it's a novelty.
So like, what are we thinking for Nationals then?
I mean,
we're expecting?
I would because I like control decks, and I think I'm a better control player than most people who are trying to play some dumb control deck, and I'm going to beat them.
I mean, I don't have a problem playing control decks, but
is it so much that like I mean, as like a micro thing from tonight, like there was a lot of approach around, but what are the other best decks? Scarab God Teamer. Scarab God's $40. Chandra, $50. Like maybe
approach is a budget deck too in some ways.
So
yes.
I guess if you have people who like qualified for Nationals on the back of limited performances and they need a budget standard deck, maybe that also is an argument to approach being more popular.
Like every single like casual player is going to Nationals because you only need 500 Planeswalker points. Like just random store grinders are all going to Nationals.
And like the mono red deck, also very expensive for a mono red deck. Like, yeah, it might be people just defaulting to approach, hoping to just cast two of them.
Yeah, and also I think that you can tune a blue-black control list to not just auto lose to mono red. I think you can have game. I think that like because Essence Extraction still legal?
Yeah,
that card's still legal. Vraska's Contempt is good, right? Exiles Hazard and gains 2. Like that's pretty good.
Exile Scarab Gods.
Chandra.
Yeah.
Flashes back with Tad Hulk. Or sorry, Torrential Girl. Yeah, it's very good. So yeah, I think that there are ways to make the blue-black control deck very good versus most decks, but mono red is never going to be like a great matchup.
All right, give me a list. I'll test it next week. Maybe I'll play it.
Well, I'm going to test it too at home with like everyone else too. Like I'm going to help out with testing before you guys go to Nationals. So I'm actually like choked. I can't go because it's going to be a lot of fun because like our whole crew is going too basically.
Yeah.
Monk ass. Don't want to miss it. But yeah, like we should be testing. Like, yeah, we'll bust out the old spreadsheets. You know, we'll use the whiteboard.
Whiteboard hype.
Holy! I just realized what the blowout of the week was too.
Yeah,
What?
wrestling being full.
Yeah, wrestling being sold out
Not
and
me,
Stelly
like,
being
sleeping
dead.
You know, we did mention my habit of getting incredibly drunk at
the
Panda
Panda
game.
game.
And I did not disappoint this year. By far the most drunk I've ever been.
I mean, obviously you didn't disappoint because our predictions are never wrong.
Your messages were like, my girlfriend was like checking my pulse. I was asleep at like 4 p.m.
No, like I woke up at 10:30 that night after passing out practically at the game. But like I got incredibly sick and was puking everywhere and kind of was in and out of consciousness and woke up in my bed at 10:30. And I literally woke up to her like squeezing my wrist. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why?
No, the best is
I've been checking your pulse for 5 hours.
the best is you woke up mad because you thought you missed wrestling.
I did, yeah. I was so
and we were like,
disappointed.
dude, it was sold out. It's never sold out. We shouldn't have said it on the podcast. Just like we sold out all the Death Gorge scavengers and the Scarab Gods. We got wrestling sold out. Like,
blowouts everywhere.
and the worst was there was like 15 of us who were like gearing up to go. Not that many, but there was a lot of us like gearing up to go.
And
it was sold out.
And we lost the Panda game in double overtime for the 4th year in a row.
What a blowout.
Jeez.
Rip.
Just wrecked. Yeah. It was not a good day for me.
It was not a good that Saturday was just not a good day for being alive.
So
what would you play going forward? Like, what are you
For
thinking?
standard?
What are you like favoring for? Like, I think this is a good question, man. Like, nationals are coming up from multiple people. Like, what do you? Where do you? Because like, there's no pro tour. Like the weekend where like
Well, no, like the
next
thing
weekend
was,
would have been the pro tour
I
normally.
haven't even been considering standard at all because I wanted to see what happened at the SCG and at Worlds this weekend.
Right.
And then I was going to try and like make some educated guesses based
I think
on that.
Worlds is like kind of going to have to sub in as the pro tour for nationals for hoping like, well, but even then, will it really define that much? Like, how much are people at Worlds going to metagame? Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Like, what are you looking at?
I am playing 4 Attune with Aether, 4 Long Tusk Cub, and something around it. I have no idea what else, but I think if you're not playing energy, you're doing it wrong.
I think that is a valid statement. The energy is such an incredibly powerful mechanic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the decks that play it just get to take advantage of it so well that it shuts down so much of what other people are doing. Like they get so much virtual card advantage and actual card advantage from energy that, yeah, it's tough to not justify. Also, like Cub has free wins, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this is like if you ever watch like Star City Games coverage, like this is something like Cedric Phillips will like always say, right? Like, yeah, the deck looks cool, like it's fun, it looks like powerful, and it's like got a good late game or whatever. But he's like, where are your free wins? Like, what are your free wins? Because if like your deck doesn't have at least some free wins, like I'm not interested.
Right.
Right.
And
Like your opponent stumbles, dead.
And
Like,
the
that's
team-
that's why Mono Red's a good deck.
and the team or energy decks also like don't really give any free losses, which a control deck might give if you get paired with mono red.
Yeah, exactly. So like playing blue black, I can see that being a bit scary.
And like also on top of this, like for nationals, you were mentioning this, and like because the Planeswalker point barrier to registration is so low, and so many people are so excited for nationals, and also might
As
have,
they should be.
yeah, they should be, but like they also maybe they queued on their limited performance or whatever. Like you might not be playing against the most well practiced, most experienced standard players, and so I'd rather just have like a well rounded deck that I can leverage my skill with.
Yeah. I think those are control decks.
Right, like they are
But
control.
that's for me. I mean,
Yeah, like control decks let you do that against mid range decks and other control decks, but like a mid range deck lets you do it against any matchup.
yeah. And I think there's interesting ways to build, for example, like Teamer mid range, because you know, like historically, or at least like as we look at these top 8 lists from SCG, like the Teamer energy lists are the 4-color. They're 4-color energy because they're splashing Scarab God because they clearly listen to this podcast.
Yeah,
They
when
like notably have a rough blue-white approach matchup, right? But I think you can build Teamer in a way in that it will be good against approach or have a way better game, but not give up too many percentage points versus mono red. Because, for example, Phil tonight was playing like 3 Chandra's main, and he's been playing a lot of moto with it. And his sideboard is like 4 spell pierces, 4 negates.
yeah,
He boards out all like dead cards. Basically.
Chandra is like your biggest powerhouse against approach.
They like basically can't be like they can cast out it, but if you're able to land a Chandra with like a spell pierce backup or something, like it's over.
Yep.
Their spells are like approach spells are all so clunky and mana intensive.
Especially a turn 3 Chandra, like you only have to protect it once because it's already at 7 and going to ult before they can even start trying to interact with it.
Yeah. So I think there are ways like you can definitely tune. So I think that's going to be the key testing for nationals and people testing for nationals. This should be not just what deck you're going to play. You should probably like decide relatively soon, or if you don't, at least have a sideboard plan for multiple matchups.
I mean, if I was going to play it tomorrow, I'd play Sultai Energy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, reasonable.
But I don't know.
So
I'd rather not.
I think
play
this
that
like
deck.
one of the things though going into nationals is like because the format's still kind of wide open and new, you can still say like, okay, against this archetype, this deck, this whatever, I'm gonna board in this. Like this is one of the things where like you need to revisit like the sideboarding episode we had, because like sideboarding in standard is where everyone gets their edge. Good players. Like the Twitch streamer I was talking about, for example, like if you look, his like win percentage is like 62 or 64, which is fine. But post board, it's like 75. Because he knows how to sideboard. And he's a good sideboard, and he knows what cards matter and what cards don't in the matchups, and he knows how to sideboard in standard. And if you listen to like Brad Nelson and his brother, like Corey or whatever, talk about standard and why they keep winning, they're like game ones or whatever, but we know how to sideboard, and we have like definitive, like careful sideboard plans that are meticulously thought out, and they win their post board games all the time.
Yeah, played an extra Blessed Alliance in the board. Genius.
Yeah, but I mean, like most good players, like they really, that's what it is. They're really understand their sideboard like plan. So like it's good to like I think that testing for nationals, like for people listening, and that's what we should be doing, right? Is like really hammering out like, all right, what does the matchup look like? How do we want it to play out? And then according to that, what is our sideboard? Like what do we and really be kind of fanatic about how we construct sideboards in this going into this tournament, I think is how like we put up good finishes as like a team, you know?
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So that's like what I think we should work on is not just like, so I guess my question is kind of stupid of like, what deck are you going to play? Because like, it doesn't matter. Like we should just have like test a bunch of decks, but have sideboard plans out for all of them. So if somebody audibles last minute, like screw it, I'm playing blue approach, right? It's like, okay, well that's a deck you need to have a sideboard plan. Like
Here's our Spikes post about how to play the deck.
yeah, check the Reddit Spikes posts, you know? But even like there are occasionally very good players who post on there and they will post their sideboard guards. Like that's something to look into, right? But like be sure that they're a person you can trust their sideboarding advice because some people are just wildly out of touch. But it's like there are some very powerful sideboard options, right? Like that's another big thing for standard is there's some crazy sideboard like tech. They brought back hate cards, you know?
Yeah.
Duress, Spell Pierce, like the numbers you want of these all matter.
Yeah, like the more I think about it and the more we discuss it, the more I'm thinking like maybe just Bug Energy is the best deck to be playing because like you get your free wins with your Winding Constrictor draws.
And you have Cub too.
Yeah, like you get blue cards in your sideboard, which are good always.
Blue sideboard's best sideboard.
I don't know. The deck's obviously very good. It just won a tournament, and it's going to be on everyone's radar. But like, it just seems so powerful.
Yeah, and is it even really hateable? It's a mid-range deck. You can't like but it's a proactive mid-range deck, which is again why they have a good sideboard.
And like let's think
they're playing 4 Duress instead of a bunch of Spell Pierce because they want to be proactive. They want to be
and like what historically was the enemy of black-green decks? Like Fumigate decks.
Yeah.
Like you're playing blue cards, you don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, that's a huge game for them. Like, just Duress. Even if they were playing blue, just having Duress and be like, all right, take your Fumigate, keep your cast out. Like, I don't care about that card, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, the scary cards are gone. Now they have more scary cards, but Settle the Wreckage, I don't think you care about getting cast on you.
Probably not.
You're like, okay, thanks for the mana. Cast this 10/10 Ballista. Like, you know, and also you have Hostage. Like, if they board in like Regal Caracal or whatever, like, that is a question too. Like, that's something we should test. Do you leave in like 1 or 2 Hostage Takers?
No.
Versus Approach?
Probably
to
not.
Get their Caracal or a Torrential Gearhulk?
They all board into Torrential Gearhulks.
Or some board into the guy in the top 8 boarded into just 4 Caracals and boarded out his approaches like every matchup.
Or even like some people have been mentioning you can use Hostage Taker to protect yourselves against Wrath. Like attack with your Rogue Refiner.
I was talking about
Hostage Taker. What are they going to fumigate you and you get a Rogue Refiner back and drop it?
Yeah, I was talking about this like late game. Like if you have nothing to do, you can like upgrade, like not upgrade because you're losing a power, but you can like
play it, recast it next turn.
Yeah. Or like, well, the real deal
draw
is
one of your own creatures.
What I was saying is like against control, if your hand is bad and you need to draw interaction, like you're looking for a negate or a spell pierce, you can on 3 attack with your rogue or 4, attack with your rogue refiner and then hostage taker it post combat. And then sure you lose a power on board, but I'm saying if your hand's bad, I'm just saying it has an option. I'm not saying you should make that play all the time. It's not great. That's obviously a suboptimal play. But if you've duressed them and you know their hand, or like you are worried about a fumigate, like there are reasons, and I think that like that flexibility is a reason potentially to leave in like a number like 1 or 2 hostage takers versus approach. Because you already are probably boarding out some other cards. Like you probably don't want like all 4 copies of. Well, you obviously boarded all 4 copies of Fatal Push, but I don't know if you even want all 4 copies of Blossoming Defense. Because
I guess
the
like
wraths
against blue-white approach.
It's the wraths.
It's the wraths that you're worried about.
You don't like what's it called? The Aether Meltdown's not a big deal because you attack with that creature every time, so that if they settle you, you get a land.
Yeah.
That's another tip, by the way. Like for people who haven't played against it, like you attack with your attune. So like, do you leave a hostage taker or because you can board out like they're playing 4, you can board out 2, and then
no. You got to leave in 3 so that if you're about to lose to approach, but they have no cards, you can draw the game.
But you probably board them all out because you bought like this deck list. You want all 4 Deathgorge Scavengers versus them if they're boarding into.
Yeah, you're gonna have better. Like you can do cute stuff with Hostage Taker, but like actually, you will just have better options in the board.
Yeah, you probably board out Rishkar though. On the draw, I would board out Rishkar. On the play, I would keep it in.
There's no Ronus main deck here, right?
No.
Ronus is. I'm not great against Settle the Wreckage, but the fact that they like Ronus sticks around after Fumigate, and so like you still get to attack the next turn if you have
Ronus is
as a follow up.
beating for control decks. Like I
Yes.
played control decks. I played approach.
It's a beating for teamer energy.
Yeah, in the mirror, it's unbeatable. Like remember we were watching that game. We didn't see us, but Stelly and I were
I
at the other end of the
overheard
table, and you had a Ronus in play in the teamer mirror, and we're just like,
Yeah.
well, this game's a lock. Like, and the board was like huge at one point, but it just didn't matter. Like
They can't attack you because you eat it with Death Touch, and then once you feel comfortable to start attacking, they can't block or they lose a creature.
and you
every
can
turn.
just send in your rogue refiners.
Yeah, you can just attack with
Because
small
you
things
just
and,
pump
like,
them with Ronus, like all your stuff starts trading up. Like I like a one of Ronus in a lot of these lists.
I think I want two.
I think Ronus has a lot of power, and I think it's the only thing that scares me is that against the black green deck, like they can cast it for cheap when they hostage taker it. Like
Yeah, whatever.
Yikes.
that's kind of a beating.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, that hurts, but like. I think the upside on Ronus might be pretty high. I think it's like that card's obviously
That's why you need
so
to play two,
powerful.
so that if they take one, you can play another one and block.
But yeah, that card is just so powerful.
I've
I
always
think,
liked Ronus.
yeah, I think that card's very good. It's like easy to enable in Teamer, and
Especially
in
with
Black-Green.
Cubs, because like you get, especially in black green, you get to states in the game where you have like an 8/8 or a 9/9. Well, maybe you have like a very large Cub, and then like it's going to kill your opponent in 2 or 3 turns after they run out of jump blockers. But if you have a Ronus, they die now.
Right, because they can't jump with Thopters
Right.
because you can give it trample.
Right, they have to put real stats in front of it, and sometimes they actually just don't have that and they die.
Yeah, I'd be interested. That's something we should test out too, right? Like, do we want Ronus? Like, and if we're gonna test it, we should play like two copies or 3 maybe just to see what it looks like. Like just to see so we can draw it all the time. And you know what I mean? Like that's like a testing process. Like we're not obviously gonna play 3, but like if we want to draw it just to see what it's like in the deck, then sure. So yeah, stuff like that. Like I think that card's well positioned. But yeah, this Sultai energy list that the Jessup brothers play is like great. It's well constructed. Obviously, we should mention like mono red is still amazing.
Yeah,
Which we knew would be the case. Like they didn't lose much.
we're not talking about it a lot because it really didn't innovate,
Right. And
but it's still very
its game
strong.
plan is still basically
It's exactly the same.
They
Yes.
still sideboard the same, like they got lightning strike.
And like they don't even have to play differently against hostage taker because their plan, previously was put you like throw away my creatures and throw away my cards to put you to a low enough life total that I can burn you out with lands. And so if they can already do that and then you hostage taker their creature, that's fine. They're already done with it. They're just going to burn you out with lands.
Yeah. The only reason the hostage taker is like good against mono red is like casting their 1-drops or like taking an early play.
Yes, you can. Yeah, if you take
Taking
an early play,
Earthshaker
you can cast
Kenra.
it before it. That you can interact with the hostage taker. But
And like Bowman Couriers is fine. Like it's still okay.
yeah,
It's not great, but taking Hazoret's the real prize.
Sure.
Because like those were cards like Ronus is a card. Ronus and Hazoret are both cards that prior to the kind of prevalence of hostage taker, which admittedly it was on our top 10 of like our best cards in standard, but we didn't put it as high maybe as we should have. I think we had like 4 or something. Like it was high, right? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But like it kind of also solved a lot of the problems with other powerful cards that are hard to answer, like all the gods, like Scarab God, Hazoret, Ronus, like all these cards kind of like have a problem with like hostage taker. Like hostage taker solves a lot of problems. That's why this card is so good in standard right now, is like there are indestructible or undying creatures and it gets them. So it like answers these really problematic, powerful cards, but also gives you card advantage. Card nuts.
Yeah. Anything else to talk about for standard? We're getting over 50 minutes.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
wow, we've been going on for a while.
Yep. Wrap this up.
Yeah, we should almost just wrap this up. Like, yeah, I don't know if there's much like to add. Like,
Yeah,
we were
like
going to talk about a topic about like leveraging how to leverage hostage takers, but I feel like we've already kind of done that and breaking down the format.
Yeah,
and
we've
what's
talked about
happening.
hostage taker quite a bit. We were going to talk a bit more about like as you mentioned here, these like very powerful cards that like work all to themselves, like Scarab God and these like indestructible things that will just individually run out with a game. But yeah, maybe we can save it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that like the takeaway from this episode is really like standard is a place of like mid-range aggro and control. And so you really need to like leverage what your deck does according to like what its position in the meta is, right? But also cards right now are really grindy, and you need to like, for the reason we kind of wanted this topic was like how to utilize your Scarab God best, right? Like this is making decisions, like this is about just knowing the format, which is why we wanted to break down the format and talk about the standard list so much, was like just knowing these things with Hostage Taker. Like, do you tag your Rogue Refiner, right? Or do you wait? Or like, do you, like you were talking, like, do you get the guy now and then cast it next turn? Or are you going to wait until you have enough mana to like, you wait till turn 6 so you can like take their cub and then get it? Or like Hostage Taker can reset their cub if they put a bunch of counters on it, right? Mm-hmm. So like there's all these decisions with how you best leverage and take advantage of your Hostage Taker. And there's a lot of decisions you can make, like, do I let them have the 4/4 cub for now because I'm going to take it and cast it, or do I need to just reset it even though I know they're going to kill my Hostage Taker, right? So there's a lot of decisions that you're gonna have to make, and it's going to be interesting seeing how they come up. So these are all things you can be aware of. I think that the level of interaction in Standard is so high right now, and that's a good thing, and that's why it's so interesting.
I think that's a good sort of like point to make in summary, is that for Nationals and for Worlds, like there's not that much time. The standard format is still probably going to be based mainly on this SCG. This SCG had a couple breakout cards, well, one like in Hostage Taker, but it has demonstrated the viability of these cards, and these tournaments coming up will be refining and tuning how to use these cards. I don't think there'll be like a new archetype or any big innovations.
Rogue refining and a tuning.
Yes.
Well said.
But yeah, it'll just be like precision use of these cards that have been demonstrated powerful enough for Standard.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. Like, we didn't even plan on this, but it seems like our conversation today was about like playing or building decks in these really focused and precise ways, and thinking about your like turns and like your draft picks, right? Like you have to go in early about like, what am I going to fight for in this draft, right? And I have a very focused game plan. And the same thing in Standard, right? Like I have this like very focused deck. Like I know what I'm doing in Standard. Like it's kind of cool because like the meta, I guess, seems kind of rock, paper, scissory, like in a good way, that you can really get rewarded for knowing what's going on and playing like around those things. Like you were saying today, like you shut off a Fatal Push like with your Hydra, right?
Oh yeah.
I think it's just like an interesting story from Standard. Like
so I attacked, I crewed a Sky Sovereign and then attacked with it and a Hydra, and the Sky Sovereign shot something and killed it. So my opponent now had Revolt, but my Hydra I had enough activation. So he had 3 power in creatures left, and my Hydra, I had 1 activation on the Hydra. So I just attack, and he blocks with the 3 power guys. Now, if I activate, he gets to push it, and then his guys live.
If he has push, right?
If he has push. And I assumed he did because I had seen it prior, and like that was probably only the removal spell in this deck. And he obviously is not chumping. Like he's blocking with 2 cards to make me try and activate, right? So that my Hydra lives. But like realizing this, I just let it trade.
Yeah, because you have the Sky Ship afterwards.
Right, like I still have a Sky Sovereign. Like I get 2 of his cards this way rather than trading down on mana and only for 1 card. Like you don't need to. I think this is a mistake that a lot of people will make playing Standard, is that you have these big, wildly swingy, impactful cards, Scarab God, Hydras, whatever, Glory Bringers. They don't have to be the end of your game plan. Like you don't have to protect them at all costs.
Right, exactly. And I thought that was a cool kind of way in which like you recognize like, okay, I'm going to get blown out if I do this. But also, it's not just about getting blown out. It's about now stranding this push in their hand.
Yeah, that too.
Right? Like now I can strand these cards that I know are there. Like Standard right now, like the way it's designed, you can play around stuff. Like you know what's going on. The card, and this is also a symptom of the card pool being smaller. We're in a small group of sets, and like so it makes for interesting games and decisions. The same thing you said about Limited. Like there are interesting decisions with what we do because like again, there's only 3 of the same set. That's what happens. Like so it's it's a pretty interesting spot.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess it's just like, to be successful in this Standard in particular, have a very focused and well thought out sideboard plan. And in parallel to that, have a very focused and well thought out plan for how you intend to use each of your cards in each matchup.
Yeah.
Right on.
We'll talk more about our testing after in Worlds next weekend and talk about some like brews and why they might not be viable and how you can use them. And other topics.
I've been thinking about a 4 or 5 color vehicles deck. We'll report back.
I'm gonna build my Bant to Shauna tokens deck as well, which I keep saying in the group chat. And everyone's
This is like
just groans, and I'm like, yeah, it's so Timmy, man, you just like make a bunch of ones that draw a bunch of cards.
This is like the parallel of when I sit down at my computer and I'm like, I really need to like write up or type this thing for school. But first I'll watch like some Netflix. It's like, we really need to test for nationals. But first, these sweet brews.
That's how it works. You got to get the brews out of your way.
All right. Thank you all for joining the club this week. Make sure you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. Free shipping on singles in Canada and the US. And however you listen to this podcast, whether it's on Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast app, leave us a review, rate the podcast, share it with your friends. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, shoot us a message. If you want to get in touch with us, we're always happy to get messages from listeners.
Love it.
What's the next social media platform we need an account on? LinkedIn?
Instagram.
Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram.
Do we have a
Tumblr?
Oh.
Yeah, we can have 2 followers on there too. Our Facebook actually has a lot. It's just we're new to Twitter, and
Yeah, we've been climbing on
Do
Facebook.
we even-
It's pretty sweet.
do we even use our Twitter? You're in charge of social media. I don't know.
Well, I don't have
Nah,
access
I
to the
have
Twitter
it.
account.
Oh,
I gave it to you guys.
I'm
I
in
already
charge
forgot
of
the
responding to Facebook messages.
yeah. Well, you definitely are.
And that's it.
You're in
Okay.
charge of Twitter. I'm in charge of yelling at people in real life.
All right. We'll see you all next week.
Take care.